Spider-Man! We're doing Spider-Man today. Spider-Man Homecoming, to be more specific. This film came out in 2017. I don't know why there's no reviews on it for some reason. I don't know. I think it did get good reviews, but for some reason the Rotten Tomatoes and all the other stuff like that's not on here like it usually is. So that's a bit concerning to me. But let's go with the film and see what we think. So this takes place after the events of Captain America: Civil War. Basically, Spider-Man's going back home to Queens, and he's been given the new Spider-Man suit, and he's been given instructions by Tony Stark to listen to Happy Hogan, which is Tony Stark's bodyguard or like different sort of agent now. But you basically have to just patrol the streets, be a good Spider-Man. He does all that, but Spider-Man wants to try and do more, wants to try and help out more. He eventually finds out a guy with guns. Basically, this guy, he was collecting all this alien weaponry, all this alien debris, until he got shut down by another organization, and I think Tony Stark's organization, but he eventually takes it for himself and tries to find a way to, and does it in secret, and they want to try and sell high-tech powered guns in secret, but eventually Spider-Man stops a bank robbery, but these guys are using these high-powered guns to destroy a bunch of stuff. Spider-Man wants to try and figure out what's going on, what balancing school life and all that stuff. So he's doing that, and he stops them, and he needs to try and figure out where they're coming from. So he finds a van, and he tries to follow that van and do all that stuff, try to be the big Spider-Man, till eventually he gets caught by, what was his name? The bad guy. I don't remember his name. I think it wasn't Falcon. It was some sort of bird guy. What was his name? Adrian Thomas was that guy. Vulture's his name. He becomes Vulture and he attacks him. Eventually, Spider-Man gets picked up by Tony Stark, or not the actual Tony Stark, like a robot suit of Tony Stark, and drags him out the water. And he tries to explain to him what's going on and everything, and Tony Stark's like, just leave it to us and we'll get it sorted out. Spider-Man doesn't really want to do that, he wants to do it for himself eventually. Again, he's trying to balance work and school life, and he wants to do all that stuff until there's like a trip to Washington. He goes to Washington for, he has to go to Washington for something like that. There's been like an explosion in his friend's school, and he has to save all his friends in the elevator. He eventually saves them. He also has this crush on this girl called Liz, which turns out to be Vulture's daughter, but he doesn't know that at first. He eventually wants to date her. He asks us to the dance and everything, and that comes later. I'm getting too ahead of myself. There's eventually a boat wreckage, which, let me see, where is that on? Go to the Cathlon one night after preventing robbery. And some guy becomes the Shocker. Not that interesting on that one. Yeah, Peter Parker's about misses the whole like event and everything like that. There's a massive like, there was like this boat that also got destroyed. I don't know how, but I think the Vulture was on that and he wanted to try and stop him. Eventually the boat gets cut in half. Peter has to try and save with all his webs. He tries to shoot it. He thinks he saved it, but it wasn't quite successful. Everyone's going to die until all the Iron Man suits comes and push the birds back together, and then it all works out. He eventually talks to Tony Stark. He comes out of the Iron Man suit and asks for his suit back. He takes his suit back, and then Peter becomes like a regular kid eventually again. Goes back to school life, going to go to the dance with Liz. He decides to go until Vulture figures out that he is going out with Liz and that he's Spider-Man. The Vulture says, you treat her right and stay out of my business, otherwise bad things can happen. He goes to Liz. He doesn't tell any of that, but then he leaves. Out the back, the Shocker's there trying to fight him. He punches him a bunch of times till Ned helps and saves him. He figures out he's Spider-Man and he helps and saves him. then he has to go after this guy. He eventually does. He eventually saves the day. There's like an aeroplane that's gonna get away. He gets to that. He grabs it. Saves everything. Saves the vulture's life, and everything works out. They eventually have to leave the school because of what happened and everything like that. And Liz is just leaving him instead. He then eventually, I think eventually after that, Tony Stark brings him in. He wants to be eventually shows him a brand new suit and everything like that. He then, what does he do then after that? He refuses. He's like, nah. He thinks that's a test, and there's actually press behind and everything like that. But yeah, he's not. Then he eventually becomes back to normal. So yeah, it's a very good revamp. Like when you first see it, and if you've watched all the original ones, the Tobey Maguire and Andrew Garfield ones, those are all really good. I think this one has been the best one until Far From Home came out. In terms of Spider-Man films, it was a really good Spider-Man film. Was very good. I'm definitely gonna give this an 8 out of 10 stars review. Sorry I didn't like give a full like complete detail. I did the best I can because again, like some of these films you can't watch right now until Disney gets the full rights to Spider-Man or something like that, so then it can go on Disney Plus or like Netflix or whatever. Because I don't think it's on any streaming service right now. But yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed that film review. I hope you guys enjoyed Spider-Man. And I will see you again for another review. Until then, bye. Subscribe.